How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to our Shadowverse Evolve 10 deck deep dive. This is the third time we have done this here, and as such, I think we're going to be making it a tradition for every single new Shadowverse Evolve set. So as part of our regular, suite of content, you can expect a deep dive that features at least one deck of every single craft, every single Shadowverse set. I love Shadowverse, and I build at least one deck of every single craft, every single set, and this time we have 10 total, so you know we're doubling up on a few here. Which ones? Well, you'll have to watch on and find out, or you can check the timestamps down below for both timestamps to the deck discussion in this video as well as deck lists. So we got all that. We got you covered. We have a lot to cover today, so we're just going to kind of keep this quick. I do want to say thank you so much for all of the support on the Shadowverse Evolve content. Really, really love the game, and I really, really appreciate all of your support out there. And without further ado, let's get on with our first batch of decks. All right, let's kick it off with Abyss. The first Abyss deck we have here is Sanguine Abyss. This is a deck where you want to do 1 point of damage to yourself on your own turn to activate your really powerful Sanguine effects. We got our nice shiny leader Urias here, as well as a stack of tokens that we're going to be using and all of the rest of the good stuff. For the sleeves, we have these just, beautiful sleeves. And of course, we're going to be using Dragon Shield sleeves for the entire video because I sleeve up all my decks in Dragon Shield sleeves. I do have a 5% code in the description down below. Rogue5, you get 5% off your Dragon Shield order. Okay, let's start talking about the deck. Enough of the shilling. All right, so this deck's pretty simple, right? This is more or less like an aggro deck, and it's very much an aggro deck, and you use your abilities that kind of do a little bit of damage to you to pump up your other stuff. So we have Ambling Wraith, just a really, really efficient unit that also deals 1 damage to both leaders. We have Skeleton Fighter. This is one that gets more powerful if you have taken damage this turn, being a 1-drop 3/3 if Sanguine is active. We have 2 of them, quite good. We are running a 2 of Bellringer. It's just a nice little card. It's a 1-drop, it's a 0/2, but it also synergizes with our Goblin shenanigans. Speaking of which, here we have a couple goblins here. They're just a simple 1-drop 2/2. We're not running the Evo version of the goblins. In fact, are we running the Evo version of Bellringer? We are. We're running 1 Evo Bellringer. It's a nice little Evo card that just deals 2 points of damage to any follower, which is pretty good, right? You can, ping off the smaller followers that your opponent, they're not activating or using, and they're making it difficult to deal with them. So we do have the Evo Bellringer there. Kind of flip through here real quick to remember what's in the Evo deck, but we definitely don't have the goblins. Next up, we have Demonium Punk Devil. Hey, be sure to remember your last words, and if you know, you know. But he's a 2-drop 2/3 with Ward, and then you can lose 2 life on give your leader -2 life, and then you give him Bane. But you can only activate this ability on your turn. So basically, you play him. He's a 2/3 with Ward and Bane, and when he dies, you heal for 2. Really, really good card. Just remember to heal for 2 when he dies. Next up, we have Harbinger of the Night, a pretty solid card. It's a 2-drop 2/2 that you can fanfare and deal 1 damage to any follower, which is pretty good. Nice little ping effect. But it can also Evo for 1, and we are running a couple copies of the Evo, and by couple, I mean exactly 1. And when it Evos, you deal 1 damage to each enemy leader, and it becomes a 3/3. So that's a pretty efficient unit with a lot of damage, right? It's a 3-drop 3/3 that deals 1 damage to a follower as well as the enemy leader. Pretty sweet. Or all enemy leaders if you're playing a Glory Finder. All right, so here's the Goblin Princess, and you're gonna see this card a lot today. This card's really, really good, it turns out, and it makes it into a lot of decks because it can actually go tutor up your Bellringer, right? Which is pretty cool. So what does it do? Well, it's a 3-drop 2/1 with an Evo for 1, and on fanfare, you search your deck for a neutral follower that costs 1 plane point and put it on your field. So that's why we are running the Goblins, and that's why we are running the Bellringers. We go tutor for whatever one that we need at the time, and then when you Evo her, she becomes a 3/2, and on Evolve, put a Goblin King token into your EX area. And so what is a Goblin King token? Well, a Goblin King token is a 4-cost 6/6, really good stats with Ward, and on fanfare, give each other Goblinoid follower on your field +1/+1, which includes your Goblin Princess. So for 8 play points, you can have a pretty decent board out of nowhere, right? 8 play points, you can have your, basically this would be your board for 8 play points, and both of these would get +1/+1, right? From the Goblin King, because the Princess is a Goblinoid. So she would be a 4/3, Goblin would be a 3/3, and you'd have a 6/6 with Ward. Pretty good for a single card. Just getting the single card. So, yeah, the Princess, dude. She's legit. She's legit. So we're running 3 of them. We have a pretty standard Abyss card here with the Playful Necromancer, a starter deck card. 3-drop, 3/3 with Evo for 1. And then when you Evo her, you get some ghosts, right? So we have 2 in the Evo deck. They become a 4/4. And on Evolve, you summon 3 ghosts. You see that card quite a bit. And the ghosts, if you didn't know, they are just 1/1s. I have the Japanese versions here. They're just a 1/1 with Storm. And at the end of the turn, you banish them. Yeah, pretty good. Extra little points of damage, which is great. And so this is the deck here. Next up, we have the Soul Dealer. I'm a huge fan of this card. He's super efficient. He's a 4-drop 6/5 with a ward. He evos for 2, and on Fanfare deals 3 damage to your leader. So he does activate Sanguine. You take a big chunk, but he does activate it. We're running 3 of them in the deck, and then on Evo, you select an enemy follower on the field, destroy it, so unconditional removal, and then you heal for X, where X is the selected follower's attack. Really solid. We're running 2 of them in the Evo deck, so 3 main, 2 Evo. Dark General is just a crazy good Storm card. It is just a 4-drop 5/5, which is really good stats, and if Sanguine is active for you, you give this follower Storm. So you take a point of damage, lose a little bit of life, boom, Storm, and then you can do like crazy turns where you play like Ambling Wraith, right? Take 1 damage, and then General, crash in for 10. It's really good. I like this card a lot. Next up, we have Cerberus. This is another Abyss staple. She's just really efficient. I'm not going to go super deep into her, but she's just really good. Gives you a lot of value from the Mimi and Coco tokens, which either can do +2 attack on a unit, or just deal another follower 2 damage. They're just really good. And for the Evo, we are running 2 copies of Cerberus in the Evo. So we have 3 in the main, 2 in the Evo. And now we have one of the new cards. This is the Howling Demon. This card's sweet. It's a 5-drop 5/4 with an Evo for 3. And it says select an enemy from the field and deal it 4 damage. If Sanguine is active for you, deal it 8 damage. 4 damage is usually enough, but having that Sanguine active, dealing 8 is almost a surefire way to finish off anything. And we do have 1 copy of that in the Evo deck, and the Evo version is a 7/6, then it gains Storm, and then if Sanguine is active for you, you heal 5. That's so good. Just smashing your opponent for 7, healing 5. It's a huge life swing. This card's really powerful. And then that basically rounds out our Evo deck there. We do have our Evo points with different sleeves. But the rest of the deck, pretty simple. We have 2 Dark Alice. Dark Alice is a 6-drop 6/6 with Rush, and on strike, each opponent discards a card. Really good. And on Last Words, you banish the top 10 of your deck, and then put this follower into its owner's field and discard a card. So it just keeps coming back. Unless you banish it, it just keeps coming back. It's really annoying, and just a really good card. And then we have our spells. They're really simple. They are Abyss staples. Soul Conversion, 1-drop, sack a dude, draw 2 cards. Just really good way to cash in your followers, especially the small followers late game. And then Razor Claw, really good removal, really good way to remove our opponent as well, because you can just hit him in the face for 3. It does deal you 2 damage, but in this deck, that's not a bad thing because we want to be damaged. And that is Sanguine Abyss. Really solid deck, really fast. If you want to play Abyss aggro, I think this is a good option. I think the deck is fairly solid. So, yep, Abyss aggro. Next up, we have Necrocharge Abyss. This is the deck that I played on Ignitius's channel. So if you want to see this in action, go ahead and check that out. And well, let's just get on with it. The sleeves, of course, here are these beautiful Amy sleeves. I'll just love it. Just love it. I love synchronizing my deck and sleeves. And of course, once again, Dragon Shield for the main. Like the previous deck, we are running some Bell Ringers, but it's a little bit different. We're running 3 here, and we are not running any of the Goblin shenanigans. They're just kind of like a good little card to come up the board and draw for us and increase our Necrocharge. We are also running 1 copy of the Evo Bell Ringer to help clear up smaller targets, which is always good. We have Demonium, same kind of deal. He's good. Hey, remember your remember the last words. Remember the last words on this card. Don't forget it. Don't forget your last words. You might actually win a game because of it. We also have Spartoy Sergeant. This is just a really efficient card for this deck because it does exactly what we want. We want to fill our graveyard with cards, and we want to get to 10 or 20 to activate our powerful Necrocharge effects, and this card helps us do that. 2-drop, 2/3, and you put the top 2 cards of your deck in your cemetery. Just a good little role player here. You'll also notice we have a lot of 2-drops because, well, we'll show. They're really important. Like this Lesser Mummy, actually a key part to finishing the game in this deck. It's a 2-drop, 2/2. It can evo for 1, and on Fanfare Necrocharge 10, so if you have 10 cards in your cemetery, you do this. He gains Storm. So he's a 2-drop, 2/2 Storm if you have 10 cards in your cemetery, and you can also evo him, and when you evo him, he becomes a 3/3. And also on strike, you summon a Ghost token, which is pretty good. So you can deal 4 damage with the Lesser Mummy on the Evo, so we're running 3 in the Evo deck. Like I said, this is actually a really, really important card to this deck. And then we're running 3, of course, in the main. Next up, we have Hell's Unleasher, just a nice little way to kind of cycle cards from in play and in our cemetery. 2-drop, 2/2, and then you can activate him and put this card into your cemetery. Select a follower that costs at least 3 play points in your cemetery and add it to your hand. So you have to get something bigger. Has to be at least 3 play points, but yeah. So you get one of our big ones back. Next up, we have Twin Turbo. We're only running a single Twin Turbo. She's a 2-drop, 3/1 with a Sail, which is really, really important. And on Fanfare, if there's at least 10 Uma Musume cards in your cemetery, give it Storm. We don't have that many Uma Musume cards, so don't worry. So essentially, this is a 2-drop, 3/1 with a Sail and Race, which gives her Rush. And we are running 3 carrots in our Evo deck. So keep that in mind. We do have 3 carrots. We are running a few Uma Musume cards for the carrots, and she is one of them. But having a Sail is really good, so we can just finish off the targets that we need. She's a good one to get back over and over again, so you can just keep killing stuff. Speaking of killing stuff, we have Maruzensky. I really love this card. Probably one of my favorite Uma Musume cards. She's a 3-drop, 3/3. She evos for 1, she races for 1, and Fanfare Necrocharge 10, select an enemy follower in the field and give it -4/-4. So 3-drop, 3/3, give something -4/-4 is really good. We're running 3 of her in the main, and we're also running a few of her in the Evo deck, because when she evolves, she becomes a 4/4, and then also gives another thing -2/-2. So pretty good value. For 4, if you have that Necrocharge, you get a 4/4 that gives a total of -6/-6. She's just really, really efficient at killing stuff. I like Maruzensky a lot. Next up, we have the Bone Chimera, running 3 Bone Chimeras, 3-drop, 1/1, Necrocharge 7. He gets Rush and Bane, which is just really good at killing things. And on a Fanfare, you put the top 3 cards of your deck into your cemetery, which is really good. Just helps fuel that Necrocharge. Next up, we have some more Uma Musume cards. We have 2 Fine Motion, 3-drop, 3/3. You can race her for 1, and then on race, give her +1/+1, and give your leader +2 health, and then you mill 2 cards. So that's great. She does what she wants to do, fills up our cemetery, and then also is basically a 4-drop, 4/4 with Rush, and you heal 2. But it's really good because the race costs 1 to give her that Rush, and that +1/+1. Next up, we have one of our big finishers. It's Azazel. This card is just crazy, crazy good. One of our great reanimation targets as well. He's a 7-drop, 6/6, but not really 7. He's kind of like a 4-drop, 6/6, because on Necrocharge 10, he costs 3 less to play. And then you can evo him for 1. And on Fanfare, each opponent discards a random card. Really, really good. And remember, in this game, Fanfare does activate when you bring him into play from your cemetery, which is going to be important for some of the future cards we're going to talk about. And we have the Evo version of Azazel as our last card in our Evo deck. He becomes a 7/7 with Bane, and on Evolve, change each enemy leader's health to 10. Which is good and bad. If they're lower than 10, it becomes 10. If they're higher than 10, it also becomes 10. Just a great way to finish off the game. Play him, Evo him, and then smash your opponent for a bunch of damage. But Azazel's just really, really good, just in general. And speaking of which, here is the key card of the deck. This head can't be taken. This is Demon Lord Ektar. It's a 7-drop, 5/6, Necrocharge 10. Select up to 2 Abysscraft followers that cost 2 play points or less in your cemetery and put them onto your field. Give each other follower on your field +1/+1. Okay, so you basically reanimate 2 dudes that cost 2 or less, put them on the field, and they all get +1/+1. He also gets, well, he does not get +1/+1. It's each other follower, but he does gain Rush. It says, while this card is on your field, each Abyss follower on your field has Rush. So he has Rush. All your dudes have Rush, so they can immediately attack. And also, on Necrocharge 20, you give all the dudes +3/+3, which is not that difficult to pull off with this deck. So all of those little 2-drop dudes that you saw, you know, Twin Turbo, Hell's Unleasher, Lesser Mummy. Lesser Mummy is the best one to get, by the way. Spartoy Sergeant, the Demonium. You cannot get the Bell Ringer. It is not an Abyss follower. But you can get these other ones. And you get 2 of them. And for the first ability, they get +1/+1. And for the second ability, they get +3/+3. And so that is so crazy because, like I said, the fanfare does trigger when they come into play. So Lesser Mummy would come into play. He would get +3/+3 if you have Necrocharge 20 and Storm from his own effect. So he'd be a 5/5 Storm. And then you can Evo him for more damage. It's crazy. You can just win the game out of nowhere and deal a ton of damage, especially if you can get like 2 mummies. Ektar is really, really good. All right, so that's it for our followers. Let's do some support for the followers. So we have Grave Desecration. This is just a great card to help fuel our strategy. It's an amulet, fanfare. Put top 2 cards of your deck into your cemetery, and then you can pay 2, activate it, put this card into its owner cemetery, select a departed follower in your cemetery, and add it to your hand. So basically, you can pay 2, sack this, and get any departed follower back to your hand. Ektar is a departed follower. Other ones, we have Bone Chimera, which is good removal. We have and the Lesser Mummy, which is also quite good. I would say those are kind of like the prime targets. We have a couple other ones, but well, we have Spartoy Sergeant. But most of the time, you're going to get Ektar, right? You're going to get Ektar, unless you don't have an Ektar. You can also get your Bone Chimera, or if you really need it in a pinch and don't have Ektar, you get your Mummy back. All right, so yeah, this card's just really good. Just helps fuel what we want to do. We have Soul Conversion, also fuels what we want to do. Puts a bunch of cards in our cemetery. You play this, puts itself in our cemetery, plus the dude that you sacrifice, and you draw 2 cards. Really, really good. We have 2 of them. We have a really nice removal spell. It's a 2-drop, quick. Select any file on the field, deal 3 damage, and then put the top card of your deck into your cemetery. Removal, that also fills up our graveyard. Great. And then the final card we have here is Death's Breath. I really like this card quite a bit. Select a follower that costs 8 play points or less in your cemetery, and then you just put it on the field, and it has Ward. So you can just reanimate any of our targets. Once again, the fanfare does activate, so yeah, reanimating Ektar or Azazel is the optimal thing here. Most of the time, you're just getting your Ektar back, just to kind of close out the game. But you can get Azazel too, just, you know, in case you need to do the other stuff. And that's the Necrocharge deck. This deck is sweet. If you want to play Reanimator, if you want to play any sort of strategy like that, I would recommend it. Definitely go check out our game with Ignitius, and I'll just remind you to not forget your last words. All right, next up we have Swordcraft, and we actually have 2 Swordcraft decks this time. We have Hero Sword and Arthurian Sword. This deck is my Arthurian Sword deck with our lovely leader Narita Taishin here. And of course the sleeves are as such. Once again, awesome Dragon Shield sleeves. And we have just, you know, themed sleeves, though I guess the Evo points aren't quite as themed. But I digress. Let's get on with the deck. This is Arthurian Sword. I like this deck quite a bit. And it does everything that I love about Sword. Has really strong tutor potential. A lot of one-of cards to, you know, what I call like a toolbox. A lot of toolbox cards that you can go tutor for your specific effect. And tutoring, by the way, is shorthand just for searching your deck for a card. So we're going to start off with a spell this time because this is the only spell in the deck, and it's kind of relevant. It's a 1-drop, Round Table Assembly. Choose one of the following. Search your deck for an Arthurian follower and add it to your hand. That's great. Or you can select an Arthurian follower on your field and give it +1/+2. Also great. So this is just a way to go get our Arthurian followers. And this deck also cares about officers and commanders. And I do want to say there are, I believe, equal parts. I think it's 50-50 officer and commander for this deck. So for the cards that care about officers and the cards that care about commanders, we do have an equal 50-50 split in the entire deck, and that was definitely a decision that I consciously made. And we also have some Arthurian followers as well. So anyway, keep in mind on that as we go on. So first up, we have Maid Leader. We're not going to go super deep into Maid Leader, but she's super good. 1-drop, 1/1, Evo for 2. She's one of my favorite cards in the entire game. I really like Maid Leader. She's cute, and she does a great a great job. We have a single copy of Maid Leader in the Evo deck, and she becomes a 2/2 on Evo. Search our deck for a follower with Evolve, reveal it, and add it to our hand. So we can go tutor for any follower with Evolve. Really, really good. So keep that in mind as we go. Maid Leader lets us go tutor for any Evo follower. All right, so oh, by the way, she's also an officer, which is also relevant. We have Old Man and Woman. Very simple. 1-drop, 1/2 with Bane. They're an officer. We don't care about the Fable tag. We just care that they're an officer and they're a 1/2 with Bane. Just really efficient at killing stuff. It's a really annoying card. We have Quick Blader. Classic. It's a 1-drop, 1/1 with Evo. We do not run Evo Quick Blader, but it's a 1/1 with Storm, which is really, really relevant. And it's an officer, which is also really, really relevant. Also is really, really good for Leonidas. We do have Leonidas in the deck, and activating Leonidas and getting our banner that gives all of our sword followers +3/+3 is quite good. It makes the Quick Blader jam on in for 4 damage. So great tutor target when that's active. Next up, we have one of the new cards. This is Perseus. Perseus is just a really, really efficient card. He's a 1-drop 2/2 with an effect, which I really like. His effect is Fanfare. If there's at least 4 followers on your field, including this one, give him +1/+1. So he's a 1-drop 3/3 if you have 4 dudes on the field, or rather 3 dudes on the field when you play him. Really, really good in conjunction with our Floral Fencer, right? Because Floral Fencer on Evo puts 2 dudes on the field, and then you can jam out your Perseus afterwards, and then you have a 3/3 Perseus. So for 5 play points, 3 plus the 1 on Evo for Floral Fencer, and the 1 to play Perseus, you have a very big board. You can do that with just 2 cards, which is good. Perseus is great. He is a commander. Next up, we have Swordsman, just really good for engaging our enemy followers so we can attack into them, specifically with Leonidas, but with other stuff as well. He's a 1-drop 2/1, and you can engage him to engage an enemy follower. Pretty good. Also on Fanfare, he engages an enemy follower as well. So yeah, just a really solid card. You run this on a lot of sword decks. Next up, we have our first, oh, by the way, he's an officer. Next up, we have our first Arthurian card. This is Tristan of the Round Table, 2-drop 2/2, Arthurian officer. You can EO him for 1, and he has Ward. So 2-drop 2/2 Ward is actually pretty good. And then you also Evo him, and we do run 2 Tristans in the Evo. And on Evo, he becomes a 3/3, still has Ward, and then you can put an Arthurian card in your cemetery and add it to your hand. So you can get back another Tristan, you can get back the Round Table Assembly because it is an Arthurian card, or we can get back some of the other cards we'll talk about. But really solid. It's just a great way to get some stuff back into our deck, adds a little bit of resiliency, and pretty solid. I mean, at the base level, right, if you just get back your Round Table Assembly, you have a 4/5 with Ward. That's not the worst. Yeah, so there you go, Tristan. Next up, we have another one of the new cards. This is the reason why I wanted to build this deck to begin with. This is Mars Silent Flame General. She's not Arthurian, but she works really well in this shell. So she is a 3-drop 3/2 with an Evo for 0, but not really. We'll talk about why. And then whenever an officer follower is put in your field, give it +1 attack. And that's why all of the officer followers are important, because Mars will pump the power of them. So like Quick Blader, for example, will now jam in for 2, which is really important. So we're running full Mars suite. And then in the Evo deck, we run 2 Evo Mars, and on Evolve, she becomes a 4/3. And then on Evolve, you pay X play points. Search your deck for an officer follower. Once again, officer follower, really important for this card. That costs X play points or less, and put it on your field. X equals the number of your choice, and then she still has that ability that she pumps any officer follower that comes onto the field. So you basically get a tutor for any officer follower and slam it directly onto the field. And so, you know, like I said, that's really important for any of the officer followers. Tristan's an officer follower, Swordsman's an officer follower, like, you know, being able to tutor for Swordsman, jam him right into play. Quick Blader, same kind of deal. And Old Man and Woman, same kind of deal. Even the Maid Leader, you can get the Maid Leader, and then in the following turn, you can Evo the Maid Leader to get more tutoring. So, yeah, Mars is great. Speaking of tutoring, here, let me put these properly into the done pile. We have Gemstaff Commander, Swordcraft staple, 3-drop 3/2, search your deck for a sword follower. It's amazing. You run these in every sword deck. Like, this card's nuts. Likewise, you run this on almost every sword deck. Floor Fencer, 3-drop 3/3 Evo for 1. We have the rest of the foil ones in my hero deck, which you'll see. And then when you Evo her, she becomes a 4/4, and then you also put a Steelclad Knight and a Knight token onto the field, so you get a 2/2 and a 1/1. So you get a 4/4, a 2/2, and a 1/1, and yeah, this she's also an officer follower, so you can go tutor her up with Mars, or if Mars is already on the field, oh dude, she would get +1/+1, and then these are also officer followers. These would also are +1/+0, and these would also get an additional +1 attack. So Mars into Floor Fencer is like pretty sick. You push a lot of damage. Next up, we have one of our toolbox cards. This is Novice Trooper. It's just a 3-drop 3/3 with Storm. That's all it is. It is an officer follower. So like you can go tutor this up with Mars. It'll deal 4 damage. You can tutor this up with the Gemstaff Commander. If you have Leonidas's Resolve in play, it's a 6/6. It's just a really solid card, and it's a good tutor target to go, you know, help us close out the game. Next up, we have Amelia, Silver Paladin. I'm running 2 copies of Amelia. I like this card quite a bit. It's a nice little removal card. She is a commander, which is relevant for another card we'll talk about. And she says on Fanfare, you can select an enemy follower that costs 3 play points in your hand and just put it onto the field. So you can just play Amelia and then play like a Mars or something, which is kind of sweet. And then you can, or you can select an enemy follower and deal 4 damage, which is also really, really important. So she's like something that can kill something, or you can turbo out another follower. Either way, it's really, really good. And we are running 2 of them in our deck. Next up, we have another toolbox card. This is Albert Levin Saber. He's a 4-drop 3/5 with Storm, and you can Evo him for 3. And when you Evo him, he just does a ton of damage. He's still 3/5, but on Evolve for the rest of this turn, this follower doesn't take combat damage. And then on Strike, you refresh him, but you can only do it once per turn. So you can attack twice, basically. He is a commander, which is relevant for another card we'll talk about. But just playing him and smashing for 6 damage, really good. Playing him with Leonidas's Resolve and smashing for 12 damage, also really good. So yeah, we have one Albert in the main deck and one in the Evo deck. Similarly, we have Sea Queen Otohime. Look, we have Otohime. She's so cute. And also, I think she's really good, and she's really annoying against a lot of the other aggro decks right now. She's a 4-drop 3/4. On Fanfare, summon an Otohime's Bodyguard. And Otohime Bodyguard, as you can see, is a 1/2 with Ward. I like the Japanese version as well. But yeah, she's a 1/2 with Ward. So she's 4-drop. She summons it's basically like a 4/6 worth of power. But more importantly, when you Evo her, which is this lovely card, she becomes a 4/5. And then you summon 3 Otohime's Bodyguard tokens. If my field becomes full from this effect, put the remaining in your EX area. So she just gums up the board, and it just makes it really, really annoying. And she is disgusting with Leonidas's Resolve. All of them getting +3/+3. So yeah, I just have one of to go search for if we need to be extra annoying and gum up the board with a bunch of Ward dudes. Instead of going big with Ward, you go wide with Ward. All right, so here's the other card that cares about commanders. So this is the card that cares about commanders. So this is Gawain of the Round Table. He's a 5-drop 5/5 with Rush, pretty good. And on Fanfare, reveal 2 commander or Arthurian cards in your hand, and you recover 2 play points. So he's a 5-drop, but he's kind of a 3-drop 5/5, which is great. And then when he is on your field, the first commander card you play each turn costs 1 less. He himself is an officer. So that's awesome. You can go tutor for him with Mars, and she'll like buff him up. And then you can also reveal Mars for your hand for him. You can play Mars for 1 less. Like, he's really good. And like I said, this deck functions really well with officer and commander cards. We're running 50-50 of each, I believe. Like, you know, half the deck is officer, half the deck is commander. So we're running 3 of him. Just really solid. Next up, we have another toolbox card with Aurelia Regal Saber. She's a 4/6 with Rush, Assail, and Ward. Really, really hard to deal with. And she also just kills things. And then on Fanfare, select an enemy leader. If there are at least 3 cards on their field, she gets +2/+2 and Aura. So she becomes a 6/8 with Rush, Assail, Ward, and Aura. She becomes just an annoying card. Very, very strong. And we're just running 1 of because she's a great tutor target to go search for. She is a commander. So keep that in mind. She is a commander, but she's just really good to search up with like our Gemstaff commander. And instead of Otohime going wide with Ward, she goes tall with Ward. Just really good. We also have one of Alexander, another one of our toolbox cards, good at killing your opponent's field. 6-drop 5/9 with Rush and Assail, and whenever he's dealt combat damage or deals combat damage, you refresh him, so he can just like smash into your opponent's board. Hitting your opponent in the face doesn't count as combat damage, so he does not refresh on your opponent's face. Keep that in mind. You don't get an auto win, but he's really good at killing the board, which is really good. So yeah, especially with Leonidas' Resolve. And, you know, speaking of which, last but not least, we have Leonidas, 5/6 for 6. You probably know what this does. He evos for 1, and that's the whole point of the card. We do have 2 in the main, and then we have 1 evo, and that's just because we can go tutor for him. He's a really easy tutor target. He is a commander, but and so is Alexander, by the way. But we can go tutor for him with Maid Leader or Gem Staff Commander because he's got evo. And he becomes a 6/7. You select an enemy fall on the field, deal it 5 damage, and then he takes 5 damage. And then when he dies, you get your Leonidas' Resolve, which gives all your sword followers +3/+3 and Rush when they come to the field. It's really good. It's really, really good. Basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure that Leonidas dies. So he'll take 5 damage, and then you smash him into something else and kill him. A great way to ensure that is, of course, with our swordsman, so we can engage our opponent's followers, so we can make sure we get that kill. Next up, we have a Hero Sword with a beautiful leader. This is Prim, Adventuring Princess. This Hero Sword deck is basically the exact same as it was before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, though the sleeves are absolutely perfect. Currently, this is my sword deck of choice. I do like the other one quite a bit, but Hero Sword is just very, very strong, and it's very, very fun to play. There aren't too many upgrades from Cosmic Mythos, so like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on this. We're running a lot of the same stuff, like Unbridled Fury, which is a great removal spell if we have a lot of dudes, and we're not going to go over the cards individually. We have Swordsman, which we just talked about, which is great for engaging our enemy followers so we can kill them. We have Quick Bladers, great for dealing that storm damage. We have Perseus, which is one of the new cards that we added, which is for the same reason. I really like Perseus. He's a 1-drop 2/2, and then he works really, really well with any of our followers that put more followers into play, like the Floral Fencer, or like any of the other ones that just kind of like dump stuff into play. So yeah, Perseus is really good, and yeah, just a nice little efficient card. And then here we have some of our hero cards. We have the Ironwrought Defender, which he gets better if we have hero cards in our cemetery, becomes a 3/2 or a 2/3 with ward for 1, which is quite good. We have Amaro, which is one of the key cards of the deck, because on strike you can give another, you give this follower +1/+1 if you have another heroic follower, but more importantly on Evo, Amaro becomes a 3/3, and then you select a heroic card in your cemetery and play it for 0 play points, which is really, really good. So it just helps you get back your heroic cards, and getting the Valiant Fencer back is quite good. So we have 3 of the Amaro. We have Heroic Entry, which is just a great way to put a card from our deck into play, but it's not a super tutor target or super tutor card, because you only look at the top 4 cards of your deck and you put any sword follower that costs 3 or less into the field, and if it's heroic, it's +1/+1, which is pretty sweet. So we have these. We have your Gem Staff Commanders for your tutoring of any target that we want. We have Mock Knight, which is really good because it's a 3/3, and if he was put on the field from anywhere other than your hand, you give him Storm. So if you bring him back with Amaro, he gets Storm. If you put him into play with Heroic Entry, he gets Storm. And also, Mock Knight evolves and becomes a 4/4, and you select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage, and if there's at least two heroic cards in your cemetery, you deal 4 damage. So we got two of the Mock Knights. You having a 4/4 Storm that also kills something is quite good. And we're running 3 in the main deck. We have Valiant Fencer, one of our big cards in the deck. It's a 3-drop 2/2. You can, on enter, Fanfare, search your deck for a heroic card with a different name in this card, reveal it and add it to your hand. So you tutor for any heroic card. Really, really good. And then you can evo him for 1, but you can only do it if there are 2 or less cards in your hand. But it's a huge payoff because it gets a huge boost. It goes from a 2/2 to a 5/5, and you select a heroic follower, and then evolve it. So you just immediately evolve one of your heroic followers on your field. So evolving your Valiant Fencer while you have Amaro is like crazy, because Amaro has a 3 cost to evo. So you like have Amaro, out, and you have your Valiant Fencer out, and then you evo your Valiant Fencer, and then it'll evo your Amaro, and then Amaro will do its thing. Good stuff. So we're running 2 of the Fencer in the evo deck, and we have 3 in the main. Once again, we talked about Floor Fencer, just great at gumming up our board, putting up a bunch of dudes, good with our Perseus. Amelia, once again, I really like Amelia. She just helps turbo out some stuff, or she just kills something, also very good. Albert, you're seeing a lot of the same cards. Albert, also really, really good. Another one of our toolbox cards. Oh, we're running 2 of the Floor Fencer in the Evo deck, by the way. Just kind of blasting through this. We're also running 1 Albert in the Evo deck to get that double attack, which is really solid. This deck I'm running Tsubaki. I really, really love Tsubaki. She's one of my favorite cards. She's a 6-drop, 5/4, and then when on Fanfare, you can either select an enemy follower and just kill it, or give her Storm. Just awesome. This is a great way to finish the game. She's an amazing tutor target. Yeah, she's great. I actually like her a lot. I've won a lot of games with Tsubaki. We have Alexander for the same reasons as last time. Great at killing our opponent's entire board. And then we have Leonidas. We have 1 Leonidas in the main, 1 Leonidas in the Evo deck. Same kind of deal. You get your resolve, give all your dudes +3/+3. It's great. And then finally, we're running a big top end with Narita Bryan, which is a 6/8 with Bane, Ward, and Aura, and then you can engage her to shoot something for 5, which is really, really good. Just like our opponent's face. Yeah, that's awesome. And so that's our heroic sword deck. Not a lot of upgrades since last time, but I kind of went over it a little bit more in case you are not familiar with the deck in general. Next up, we have Runecraft. And we have 1 Runecraft deck this time, as opposed to 3 from last time. This is Chimera Rune, and it also makes use of Daria, one of my favorite characters of all time, of any property. I'm a huge fan of Daria. Absolutely love her. So I love this deck. Yeah, let's just get into it. It's really cool. For the sleeves, this is what we're rocking. And yeah, this is sweet. All right, so let's break it down into leaders, or into followers and spells. This deck, if you look at the deck list in the description, you'll notice this has more than 40 cards, and you can have between 40 and 50 cards in Shadowverse. And why is that? Well, we're going to be burning through our deck very fast, and we don't want to deck ourselves. We want to basically have, if the Abyss deck, Necrocharge, just wants to fill our cemetery with cards, this deck does as well. And normally you're like, oh, you want to fill it with spell cards to get that spell chain, but with Daria, it doesn't matter. We're just filling it up. All right, so let's get on with this. We have Agnes Tachyon. I do want to mention this is also kind of an expensive deck because a lot of the Runecraft cards are inexplicably kind of expensive. Inexplicably? Yeah, that word. They're kind of expensive for some reason. But they're cool. So Tachyon is a 2/2 for 2. She can evo for 1, and then whenever you play a spell, select an enemy fall on the field and give it -1/-1. She's great at removing things and pairs well with our removal spells. And then her evo version is also exceedingly good, becoming a 3/3, and you can pick any spell in your cemetery and add it to your hand. Amazing. This card just gets you a spell back and helps you at killing things, which is exactly what you want to do with this deck. We also have Penguin Wizard, starter deck card, great card. 2-drop, 1/4, you can evo him for 1, and then you can engage him to discard a spell and draw a card. Just helps burn through our deck, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to fill it up with stuff and also draw. And the evo version helps us do even more of that. I apologize if you hear sirens. They're just going to town outside. The Penguin Wizard becomes a 2/5. He's got a big old booty. On evolve, you refresh him, so you can actually activate him, then evo him to wake him up, and then activate him again, which is sweet. And then same thing, discard a spell, draw a card. 3 in the Evo deck, 3 in the main deck, for sure. Next up, we have a classic. This is Merlin. Merlin's just really, really good. 3-drop, 3/2. Fanfare, search your deck for any spell, reveal it, and add it to your hand. Really, really good. And then she evos for 2, so we're running 3 in the main deck. Merlin is just, if you're playing Rune, get your Merlins. You need them. And I'm also running 3 in the Evo. She's just too good. She becomes a 4/3, and on Evolve, select a spell that costs 3 play points or less in our cemetery, and you just play it for 0. You just play it. Yeah, and that's basically all of our spells. She just plays something for free from our cemetery, which is really good. So 3 main deck, 3 Evo deck. Get your Merlins. You will, if you're a Runecraft player, it's part of the class. Next up, we have Star Reader Stella on one of the new cards. I think this card is great. 3-drop, 3/3, fanfare. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You put one of them in your hand, one of them in your cemetery, one of them on the top of your deck, and one of them on the bottom of your deck. And then on strike, you look at the top card of your deck, and you can put it into your cemetery. So she helps fill up our cemetery for Spell Chain. She gets us the best card from the top of our deck. She puts another one back on top. She puts one on our graveyard so we can get it back with Merlin or Agnes. For only 3 play points, this card does a lot. She's good. I like her. I like her a lot. We're running the 3 of. Next up, we have Mr. Heinlein, Shadow Mage. 5-drop, 4/4. Fanfare, put the top 4 cards of your deck in your cemetery, helping feel that spell boost or spell chain. And then you recover X play points, where X is the amount of spells put in your cemetery from this ability. So it could be up to 4. And then you can engage him and discard a spell, select an enemy follower on the field, and deal it 4 damage. So he basically turns any spell in our hand into 4 damage, which is good. We're running 2 of the Mr. Heinlein. Next up, we have one of the key cards of the deck. This is Daria, Dimensional Witch. Finally, Daria has the perfect deck, and this is quite good for Daria. So she's a 6-drop, 5/5. She evos for 1. Fanfare, discard your hand, and then put the top card of your deck into your EX area, and you repeat this until your EX area is full. While this card is in your field, both spells and followers in your cemetery count for your spell chain, which is really important for the Chimera. So you discard your hand, it helps fuel the spell chain, and it basically refreshes you with a big hand. And then when you Evo Daria, she's a 6/6. You select a follower in your EX area, and for the rest of the turn it costs 5 less. And you select a spell, and for the rest of the turn it costs 5 less. And she still has the static ability. So basically, you play her, you get a whole new hand, and you can play 2 things for free for the most part. It's really, really good, and Daria-ing into a Chimera is a viable way to win with this deck. So we have 2 Evo Darias, and we have 3 main deck Darias. And then finally, we have our big finisher, the card that I just mentioned a bunch. We have Chimera, which is a 7-drop, 7/7, Spell Chain 10, deal 5 damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower. Spell Chain 20, 10 damage. Spell Chain 30, 30 damage. So you want to get to Spell Chain 30 and just one-shot our opponent. That's kind of the goal here. You can also get to Spell Chain 20 and do like a Chimera one turn and then a Chimera the next turn just to finish them off. That can also happen as well. Running 3 Chimeras in the deck. Getting Chimera off of Daria is really, really good. And we do have ways to get the Chimera like back into our deck if it's kind of like taking up spots in our hand, gumming up our hand a little bit. All right, let's talk about the spells, which is going to be most of the deck. I broke these down into 2 categories, and they're pretty simple categories. We have draw and removal. We'll talk about the draw. Insight. It's a 1-cost quick draw card. Really good. It just gets through our deck. Mystic Ring, a card that I don't like in most decks, but I think it's really, really good in this deck. It's a 1-drop, quick, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck and draw a card. So it's insight with extra steps, except putting a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck can be good in some circumstances if you have your Chimera in your hand and you want to play your Daria, for example, and you don't want to discard the Chimera, or any other, permutation of something like that. If you have a card in your hand and you don't want to discard it to Daria, yeah, the ring is pretty good for that. So there you go. We're running 3 of them. We have Noble Instruction. This is a great way to get our Chimera or Daria. 2-drop, quick. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and you can reveal a follower, put it in your hand, and then put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck, and then Spell Chain 10, recover 1 play point. Really good. So basically, it's a 1-drop, more or less, Spell Chain 10, that you get whatever follower you need from the top 5. We're running 3 of them. We have Trail of Light, 2-drop, quick, or not quick, 2-drop, draw a card, but when you discard it, you also draw a card. And it's a spell, which means it's really, really good for your Mr. Heinlein, and it's really, really good for your Penguin Wizard, and it's also really, really good for Daria, because you discard it with Daria. This card is insane with this deck. This card's insane. Yeah, really good. And then finally for the draw cards, we have Fate's Hand. It's a 3-drop, draw 2 cards, quick spell, and on Spell Chain 10, recover 1 play point. So it's basically like a 2-drop, draw 2 cards, quick. I don't know, it's really good. Draws you some cards. And as you should note, none of these cards cost more than 3, so you can play them all with Merlin for free. All right, now we have our removal. Remember, all of these cards also help with removal with Agnes as well. But we also have just actual removal. So we have Lamplit Training of a Witch to Be. This is one of our cheap removals of choice. It's just a 1-cost, quick, deal 2 damage to a follower. We ignore the rest of the text because we're not doing any erasing Umamusume shenanigans. It's just a 1-drop, deal 2 damage. Quick, really good. We also have Wind Blast. This is a 1-drop, deal a decent amount of damage. So it's 1-drop, deal 2 damage to a follower. Spell Chain 10, deal 4 damage to that follower instead. Yeah, we did just a 1-drop of it, or one of these. Rime Wind is actually really good. It's like sort of unconditional removal. It's just really annoying. So it's a 2-drop, quick, select an unevolved enemy follower on the field and return it to the owner's hand. Spell Chain 10, put on top of the deck instead. We're only running 2 of these because it's a little situational. It's not, like I said, it's not entirely unconditional. It has to be unevolved. But man, putting it on top of their deck is just really, really brutal. Yeah. So we're running 2 Rime Wind. We're running 2 Surefire Bullets. Another just 2-drop. This is select an enemy from the field, deal 3 damage. If it's evoed, deal it 4 damage. So unlike the Rime Wind, this one excels at killing evoed followers. And then we have Witch Bolt. Witch Bolt's another great one. 3-drop, select an enemy follower, deal it 5 damage. If there's an evoed follower on your field, draw a card. Running 2 Witch Bolts, 5 damage, draw a card. Really good. This is one of my favorite targets to get when I evo Merlin. So you evo Merlin. Right, so you evo Merlin, you have your 4/3, and then you just pick your Witch Bolt, you blast something for 5, and then draw a card because you obviously have your evo Merlin. Sweet. And then the final card in the deck is our one of Demonic Strike. Really simple. It's just select an enemy leader or follower on the field and deal it 3 damage. This is a great way to finish off the game if you couldn't kill them with your Chimera. It's really, really sweet with Merlin because you can shoot him for 3 and then evo Merlin and then shoot him for another 3 immediately. So yeah, I like the one of Demonic Strike. And keep in mind, because of Merlin, any of these all these spells are like tutorable, right? We can just go search them up if we need them. So yeah, and that's basically the deck. Draw a bunch of cards, play a bunch of removal, and kill your opponent with Chimera. Yeah, it's sweet. Next up, we have one of the top meta menaces, Forestcraft. I did an entire deck tech devoted just to this deck, so definitely go check that out, as well as a gameplay video featuring this deck here on the channel, so watch that as well. And as such, since I've already talked about this deck quite a bit, we're going to go over it as fast as I possibly can and just kind of give you the general gist of it. If you'd like the full spiel, go check out the full deck tech. All right, so this deck essentially evolves around Elephant, right? We have a big king elephant, and he's going to do storm damage and kill our opponent out of nowhere. So this is our Evo deck, by the way. Sleeves, perfect, absolutely perfect. All right, so we have some cards in the deck that basically bounce stuff to our hand or heal us or draw cards. The idea with the deck is it's kind of like a mid-rangey deck. We're going to be using a lot of cards that have fanfare effects or effects when they leave the field, and then we're just going to finish them off with King Elephant. So for example, like let's say let's go ahead and pull out some of these cards. Like we have Fashionista Nelcha, which is a 2/3 with combo 3. So if you've played 3 cards, you can engage her, give one of your dudes +2/+2, or one of your opponent's dudes permanently -2/-2. Just a really, really powerful effect if you play a lot of cards. We have what I would call our bounce targets here. So these are cards that we want to have on the field and then have them return to our hand and then play them again and have them return to our hand. So like this is one of the new ones. When it leaves the field, you get a 0/0 Fairy Wisp in your EX area, and that helps us increase our combo count for the turn because it's a 0-cost card that we can play to increase our combo. We have Harvest Festival, which when it returns to our hand, we get a draw card. So we want to play it, return to our hand, draw a card, and then just kind of keep bouncing it back and drawing cards. And then we have something like Elfchild May. When she enters the field, she deals 1 damage to an enemy follower. When she leaves the field, she deals 1 damage to an enemy follower, when she returns to your hand. And so we use May to just play her, shoot something for 1, return it, shoot something for 1. Just really, really solid. And then something like Wood of Brambles, which on Fanfare summons a 1/1 fairy token, and then on combo you give it Rush, and then she also makes it so all your followers have on Follower Strike, they deal 2 damage to the enemy follower as well, so it makes them all really good and efficient at killing stuff. But at the end of your main phase, you have to, or at the start of your main phase, you have to destroy this card. So returning it to your hand and then playing it again on your next turn is really, really good. And then we have a bunch of cards that return stuff to our hand, right? So we have the cards that want to be bounced, and then we have the cards that do the bouncing, like our Ancient Elf, which is just really big and has Evo, and basically helps us bounce two things. So it bounces something on Fanfare, and then it bounces something on Evo. We have Marvelous Sunday, which bounces something to our hand and heals us for 2, which is a 2/3, which is really good. And then we have Nature's Guidance, which is a spell that bounces something to our hand and draws a card. And so you just kind of want to do that kind of cadence. We have some removal, like Rose Gardener bounces an enemy thing to their hand, and we could possibly draw a card. We have here, I'll put our finishers kind of in one spot over here. Bellringer is just a nice little card to gum up the board, draws us a card when it dies. Ivy Spellbomb is great removal for the enemy followers, but also can deal 3 damage to the opponent, which is good. Cassiopeia is just a fantastic kind of board wipe, can blow up all of our opponent's followers, depending on how many cards we have in our hand and EX area. Silent Suzuka. Okay, so let's kind of go over these. This one right here is a card that I put in the deck because I think it's interesting and I wanted to try it out. I've seen some lists run this and I've seen some lists not run this. She's basically a 2/1 that can Evo, and then when she Evos, you heal and you draw a card, right? Pretty simple, but drawing a card is great, healing is great. Once again, I have a full deck list and a full deck tech of this already on the channel. Deck list is in the description down below if you want to go see me go into super detail. But Suzuka is just really good at killing our opponent. She has Storm, and she also puts a follower from our opponent's field on top of their deck. But having the Storm is really important. We have Sakuna, Brave and Small. She's just a 1-drop 1/1. But if you have combo, when you Evo her, she becomes a 3/3 with Storm. And if you have combo 5, she becomes a 5/5 with Storm. And so really solid, running a bunch of her. And you can just kind of like help storm out our opponent, get them down low enough so we can do our King Elephant, which is a 6-drop, 6/6 with Storm. On Fanfare, put any number of cards on our from our field into our hand, and then this gets +X, where X is the number of cards in our hand. Right, so if we have 5 cards in our hand, this gets +5/+5, so it becomes a 6/6 Storm. However, it is even more powerful than that, because when you Evo him for 4 play points, he does it again. He gets another +X, where X is the number of cards in our hand, and then he also ignores Ward. So once again, if we had 5 cards in our hand, he would get +5/+5. Right, it's becoming a 6/6, and then we Evo him, he'll get another +5/+5, becoming an 11/11 Storm that ignores Ward. So the idea with the deck is you do all your shenanigans, you know, bounce things, do some damage, draw some cards, and then you storm your opponent down till they're around like 10, 12 life or so, and then you just blow them up with your King Elephant once you get to 10 play points, because it's 6 to play him and then 4 to Evo. Elephant Storm, it's one of the best decks in the format. Oh, I also want to note before we go on, that's my version of the list. The standard version of the list also runs, they run Silverbolts. They'll run Tias. I have like these fancy Tias. Look, this is my World Championship Tia. And they'll also run Lilies, right? So you'll have Lilies and Tias and Silverbolts. But I wanted to try some of the new cards. The cards that you would be taking out for those, by the way, would be like maybe you take out one Suzuka, you take out the Filas, and yeah, some amount of that, yeah. Next up, we have Havencraft. We have 2 Havencrafts for you today. One of them is a brand new deck. It's kind of like a mid-range Haven. And then the other one is Egg Haven, which is basically the same. And once again, we're going to try to go over that one quicker, maybe even quicker than the Elephant deck. But this one here is the mid-range. We have our lovely leader, Eris here. She's beautiful. And we have a lot of cards that we've seen in other decks and other permutations of Haven. But this one is a pretty cool one. And I know a lot of like classic Haven fans are really going to like this. I just love the Dark Jean. And we finally got Dark Jean. Not as cool as these ones, but still pretty cool. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's get into this deck. All right, so we have Majoro Arden. She's a 1-drop 3/3 with Ward. You can race her, but as you can see, we're not running any carrots in our list. So she's a 1-drop 3/3 with Ward, and at the start of your main phase, if there are no Majoro family followers with a different name from this card on our field, this comes back to our hand. So it kind of heals itself almost, because it keeps coming back to our hand and we keep playing it. It's also a 1-drop 3/3, which is just really good and really annoying. we really want to get to the mid and late game. Speaking of which, we have Bell Ringer Angel, a full playset, just really good. Comes up the board, protects us, and draws us a card. And as you would guess, we are running a 1-of Evo Bell Ringer in the Evo deck to help deal with those pesky little targets. Next up, we have Unicorn Dancer Unica. She's just a 2-drop 2/2. You can Evo her for 1 and then strike. You heal for 2, which is really, really good. Like I said, we just want to get to that late game, and healing for 2 is great. The Evo version becomes a 3/3. So immediately play it, jam in, heal for 2. It's great. So we have 1 in the Evo deck, and then 2 in the main deck. Next up, we have Priest of the Cudgel. Just a very, very efficient starter deck card. 3-drop 3/3, Evo for 1, and then when you Evo him, you get to banish an enemy follower with 3 defense or less. Pretty good. And it also becomes a 4/4. Nice little 2-for-1, banishes something, makes it so they can't get the last words, and can trade into something. Really good card. 3 main deck, 2 Evo deck. Next up, we have, like I said, you're going to see this a decent amount. Goblin Princess. This card exclusively in this deck, you will go and search for your Bell Ringers. This is what you get. You play your Goblin Princess, you go and get your Bell Ringers. However, we are running a single Evo version of the Goblin Princess, so we can get that Goblin King, which is really, really nice. And of course, as a reminder, Goblin King is a 4-drop 6/6. So this is still a lot of value, right? You still play her, Evo her for 1, and then you go and search for your Bell Ringer on Fanfare, and then on Evo, she becomes a 3/2. You have your Bell Ringer, and then you have your 6/6 Goblin if you want to pay the extra 4 to play it from your Evo, or play it from your EX area. So Goblin Princess, which is really good value. Next up, we have Sapphire Priestess. This is a card that I don't see in a lot of other versions of this deck, but I think it works really, really well in this deck. So she is a 4-drop 4/5. At the start of your end phase, if your followers attacked at least 3 times this turn, draw 3 cards. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, hey, wait, you don't have a lot of followers to do that with right now. And I'm going to say, just let me cook a little bit, because we might have some followers to attack with. So I think this is great. Just a 1-of though, just a 1-of. But just having her on the field and drawing 3 cards once is crazy good. And if you do it multiple times, you're cooking. Next up, we have a regular Jeanne d'Arc running 3 in the main. This is a 4-drop 3/4, Evo for 2. Fanfare will 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field. Really good at clearing the board. And then on Evo, she becomes a 4/5, and then she deals 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field. And then you heal all of your followers for +2. Actually, you don't even heal, just give them all +2, which is really good. So running 2 in the side, or in the Evo, and 3 in the main. Next up, we have Kaguya. This is a follower that I've run before. I like quite a bit. 5-drop 4/4, Evos for 2. Fanfare, select an amulet that costs 3 play points or less from your hand and put it into the field. We have a lot of amulets in this deck. Whenever an amulet is put into your field, select an enemy follower on the field and deal X damage, X equals its cost. So ideally, you're going to put like a 2 or 3-drop amulet, probably a 3-drop, shoot something for 3. And then you can Evo her for 2, and then you get another amulet. So when you Evo Kaguya, she becomes a 5/5. On Evolve, summon an Ephemeral Moon, and then you heal for 3. So give your leader +3. And it says, whenever an amulet is put in your field, yada yada, shoot a follower for X, where X equals the cost. And so what an Ephemeral Moon is, it's a 3-drop amulet. And so while this card is on your field during your turn, your followers named Kaguya can't take damage. At the start of your main phase, banish this card. So Kaguya does a lot of stuff, right? She can deal, she's basically like a 3 or 4-for-1. You play her, put something into your hand, shoot something for 3, Evo her, create the Ephemeral Moon, shoot something for 3, and then she can attack into something, and then all damage is prevented because she's got the moon out, and yeah, just kill something because she's a 5/5. Kaguya is cool. I like it. I like the Kaguya. So we have one of her. We also are running a single copy of Dark Jeanne in this list. In the egg deck, we're running a lot more. She's a 6-drop 5/5. Pretty good stats. Evo for 1. Fanfare will deal 2 damage to each other follower on the field, including your own. And then you give each follower on other follower on your field +2 attack. So really good at pumping up the attack of all your dudes. And then the Evo version. This is what the Evo version is kind of what this Jeanne is. She's a 6/6 on Evolve. If your leader's defense is at least 5, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 4 damage. And also each leader 4 damage, including your own. So you deal yourself 4 damage, your opponent 4 damage, and an enemy follower 4 damage. So yeah, she's good. She's cool. I like her. I like her a lot. Next up, we have a 1 of Curate, 6-drop, 5/5, Fanfare, heal for 5, draw a card. Really efficient card. This is another toolbox card. We do have a good number of toolbox cards like Curate, Darkjan, and Kaguya because of the next card, Aether. So Aether is a 7-drop, 3/5 with Ward, and on Fanfare, you search your deck for a Haven follower with a different name than this card that costs less play points than your maximum play points, and you put it on the field, right? So if you play Aether on 7, you can go get a 6-drop, right? Like Curate, like Darkjan, or Kaguya. So you can go get into these, and they just, bam, come onto the field, you get the Fanfare, you're good to go. And then she's also just a 3/5 with Ward. However, what's better than this is it cares about your maximum play points, not the play points of Aether. So we are running 3 Aether, but the best targets we can go get are Gold Ship to win the game. Gold Ship is an 8-drop, 8/8. Fanfare, reveal the top card of your deck and deal X damage to each enemy leader and heal your leader for X, where X equals the revealed card's cost. So if you flip over an Aether, well, you shoot your opponent for 7 and you heal for 7. Kind of crazy. Or if you reveal an Aegis, you, same thing but for 8, right? Also, you can play 10 play points and give her +10/+10. So if for some reason they don't remove her and she's still in the field and they don't have any ward, you just pay 10 play points and you smash your opponent for 18 damage and you just kill them. So, yep, Gold Ship, gotta make them have it. And then finally for the followers, this is the big finisher. This is Heavenly Aegis. Aegis is back, 8-drop, 8/8. Evo for 2, or you can Evo him for discarding 3 cards from your hand. He's got Aura, and then he can't be destroyed by abilities. He still can't be destroyed. He can be destroyed by ability damage. But when you Evo him, he becomes even more of a pain. He becomes a 10/10 with Aura, which makes it so good luck dealing him ability damage. And for the rest of this turn, and during each opponent's turn, this follower doesn't take damage at all. And he can't be destroyed by abilities. So he's just a big, dumb Chungus that's really, really hard to kill. And if he sticks around, you just kill your opponent. He's really good and really annoying. And we can give him a ward with Guardian Sun, which makes us almost unkillable, right? And so the idea is that at 9 play points, you can play your Aether, and then you go get your Aegis for free, and then you can immediately discard 3 cards, Evo your Aegis, and then you have a 10/10 with Aura, and you also have this 3/5 with Ward, and it's just like, what? Come on. What's going on here? Guardian Sun, by the way, you can select a follower on your field and give it Ward. Yeah, it's pretty good, and you can also, it's like permanently Ward. Like, it's not just Ward until end of turn, it just has Ward. And then it has the second effect of you can pay 2, put in the cemetery, and then select an enemy follower select a follower with Ward and give it +2/+2. So now you can also pump up your Aegis and make it a 12/12. Sure, why not? 12/12 unkillable with Ward. So it's an amulet. And so the rest of the cards in this deck are amulet or removal, basically. So here's another amulet. This card lets us draw cards. It's really good. When it's put in your, you can pay 1, or you can pay 1, play it, draw a card, or pay 1, play it, activate it, put in your cemetery, draw a card, or pay 2, do the same thing, or draw 2 cards. It's really solid. Yeah, running 3 of that. And here we have some of the ways to just get a bunch of dudes on the field, right? So we have Pinion Prayer, which is a 1-drop. You can pay 1 and put it in your cemetery and summon a Holy Falcon token. Holy Falcon. And the Holy Falcon token is a 2/2. Get the English version. 2/2 with Storm. Costs the 3 play points, but you just put it on the field. So it's a 2/2 with Storm. Really, really solid. So yeah, 2/2 with Storm. Yeah, great. And then we have Beast Call Aria. There's a 3-drop amulet, really, really good target for Kaguya. And on Fanfare, you summon a Holy Falcon, 2/2 with Storm. And then you can pay 2, put this in your cemetery, and you summon a Holy Tiger, which is a 4/4 with Rush, which is crazy. Here's the English version. 4/4 with Rush. Yeah, just a good way to put a bunch of dudes on the field, and that's how basically you're gonna trigger your Sapphire Priestess with a bunch of different effects. Sapphire Priestess, by the way, depending on your situation, you know, you can do a thing where you Aether for your Sapphire Priestess if you have some of these on the field, and so you can, you know, draw 3 cards, basically. We also have some removal, and that's going to round out the deck. So we have Acolyte's Light, 4-drop, quick, select any far on the field, banish it, and heal for 2. unconditional removal. They don't get their last words. This card's really good. I ran a full play set of them. And then finally, Themis' Decree, 5-drop, destroy each follower on the field. We run a full play set, just really good at wiping the board, keeping our opponent's aggression at bay until we can get to the point where we can do all of this crap. Deck is fun. Deck feels like if you can survive to the late game, you feel unkillable. But it's getting to that point. That's the real challenge. It's still like a sweet deck. Definitely try it out if you're into Haven. Our other Haven deck is our Egg Haven deck with a Lorena Gentle Piety. Look how cute she is. She has some of the best lines in the game. We're not going to go super deep into this one. Like I said, it's basically Egg Haven. And once again, I'm just going to show you for this one, I'm just going to show you the new cards that I put in for Egg Haven, right? The rest of it is a pretty standard fare, right? We have Faria, who helps us put Fabled counters. We have our Bellringer Angels, which do Bellringer Angel stuff. We have Princess Snow White, which just keeps coming back. She's a really efficient Fabled follower. We have Tin Soldier that lets us burn our opponent out. We have Alice, which kind of lets us tutor for Fabled followers and get a lot of value. We have the titular Humpty Dumpty to burn our opponent out. Humpty Dumpty is really important. We kept in Rapunzel, still a 3-drop 4/5, really good at stats. We have the Pinion Prince, which is also just really solid. We have the one of Odette that I have in my previous version. I still like this. Healing our leader for a combination of 4, and just pumping up all of our allies is still really good. Some of the new cards here, we'll set our Dark Jean aside. We have the Explosion to burn our opponent out. Alice Adventure to tutor for more stuff. And then March Hare's Tea Time for just getting stuff back from our graveyard and being particularly annoying. The Evo deck's gonna run our 3 Alices, our 3 Humpty Dumpties, our 2 Pinion Princes, which have a sail, which is still pretty good. And then we have 2 Dark Jeans. Of course, for the sleeves, we're rocking the Alice sleeves, because of course this is the Humpty Dumpty deck, but it's more or less an Alice deck, right? You gotta maximize your Alice. Okay, so let's talk about the new cards. The most important new card is Andromeda. This card is insane in this deck. I kind of undersold it in the set review, but this card's nuts. It's a 1-drop 2/2, and then on Fanfare for the rest of this turn, your leader and each follower on your field, including this one, has this doesn't take ability damage. So what that means is you play your Andromeda, and then you play your Humpty Dumpty, and then you Evo your Humpty Dumpty. And on Evo, Humpty Dumpty deals 5 damage to each follower, and then 3 damage to each enemy leader, and you have to discard your hand. So Humpty Dumpty will deal 5 damage to everything, except it won't to yours, because your followers can't take ability damage, and that damage is ability damage. So it's a one-sided board wipe. You blow up all your opponent's stuff, hit him for 3 damage, and you're good. Andromeda just protects your board from that. She also protects your board from the other new card, Dark Jean, because on Fanfare, deal 2 damage to each follower on the field, including your own, and then you give your followers +2 attack. So once again, really good at protecting. Andromeda's really good at protecting your board from your own effects, turning your full board wipes into one-sided board wipes. So the new cards are Andromeda and Dark Jean, and we added Dark Jean to the Evo deck as well. If you wanted to see the full other deck tech, I have that, as well as gameplay of this deck here on the channel. It's one of the best decks still in the game. Yeah, I'll have the current deck list, as always, in the description down below. All right, and finally we have Dragoncraft. We have PDK Dragon, Prime Dragon Keeper, as well as more of a standard ramp variant of Dragon. So let's go over PDK first. Our leader here is Special Week, Uma Musume Special Week. Yeah, this is a really interesting deck. This is one of the ones I really wanted to build, one of the new archetypes from Cosmic Mythos. Here is our Evo deck. Gotta rep some portal there. Yeah, let's get into it. So I want to talk about Prime Dragon Keeper first, because she's kind of like the linchpin of the deck, right? So she's a 3-drop 1/5 big ol' booty, and she has if Overflow is active for you, give this follower +1/+1 and Intimidate on Fanfare. So it only activates on Fanfare. But that's great. She becomes a 2/6 that your opponent cannot tack into. They have to basically use spells to kill her. And she also says, when another Dragoncraft follower that costs 3 play points or less is put onto your field, select an enemy follower on the field, deal it 2 damage and 1 to its leader. You have to have that target to even deal the 1 point of damage. If they have nothing on the field, it doesn't do anything. But it's really good at killing their board, and there's a lot of board state-based decks in Shadowverse right now, so it's actually really, really good. And because of that, we have a lot of 3 play points or less followers to coincide with this. So yeah, that's kind of the linchpin of the deck. And it's why we're running stuff like the Aqua Nereid, which is a 2-drop 0/1 with Ward, and on Fanfare you summon a Mega Lorca. If Overflow is active for you, give the Mega Lorca Storm, and a Mega Lorca is just a 2/2 fish. And so basically, this is 2 triggers of Prime Dragon Keeper. You play this and you get your Mega Lorca, and then it, Dragon Keeper triggers twice, 2 damage to a thing, 1 to the leader, 2 damage to a thing, 1 to the leader. Really solid. So running 3 in the main deck here. Let's scoot PDK over. We have Dragon Summoner, just a nice little card that almost every Dragon deck is going to be playing from basically here on out, or not even here on out, from the previous set out. We have 2 in the main board, 1 in the Evo. It's just a 1/3, and the Evo's for 1. And the Evo version lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and you take a Dragon follower, add it to your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck. Yeah, and it's a 2/4. Yeah, it's just kind of good. Get you a good card, and yeah, pretty efficient there. Next up, we have Dragon Tamer, 2-drop 2/2. Fanfare, draw a card and discard a card, which is pretty nice with some of the other. We do have some discard, themed stuff. Or should I say, we have one discard themed card that's actually quite good in this deck. And on Evo, it becomes a 3/3. You discard a card and you select a Wormkin follower in your cemetery and add it to your hand. Good targets include our big top-end finisher, Genesis Dragon. We can also get stuff like our Draconeer back as well. So yeah, we're running 3 of them in the main, just because it's really nice and efficient. And we are running a 1 of in the sideboard. We also have Shape-Shifting Mage, just a nice little 2-drop. 2-drop 2/2, Evo for 1. Fanfare, if Overflow is active for you, you give it +3/+3. So it's a 2-drop 5/5 if Overflow is active, which is great. And then on Evo, it just kills stuff. It just kills stuff. It gains Assail and Bane, right? So it's basically a 3-drop kill anything on your opponent's field, which is pretty solid. So we have 2 of them in the Evo deck, and then we have 3 main deck. Next up we have, this is basically Sybil. We'll show you the actual version of Sybil in the other Dragoncraft deck, but this is the Code Geass alternate art of Kalin Crimson Yaksha. So she is a 3-drop 3/4. If Overflow is active for you, this follower gets +1/+1, and you increase your maximum play points by 1, which is awesome. So you basically go from 7 to 8 play points, and she becomes a 4/5. And then at the start of your end phase, you heal for 1, which is great. And if Overflow is active for you, you heal for 2, which is great. This card is just super efficient and super good. You run these in every Dragoncraft deck, right? Also, it's a 3-drop, so it's good with PDK. Speaking of which, we have Draconeer, Knuckle Dragon, 3-drop 3/3, Evo for 1. You summon a Draconic Weapon on Fanfare, and Draconic Weapon is a pretty simple amulet. It's just a 1-drop amulet, and then you can engage it and put it in the cemetery and select a Dragon follower on your field, a Dragoncraft follower, give it +1, and it gains the Armed trait. It gets +1 defense and the Armed trait. Yeah, pretty good. But when you Evo Draconeer, he does damage to one of your opponent's followers. So it becomes a 4/4. On Evolve, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. If there's another armed follower on your field, deal 4 damage instead. So what you do is you have some other follower in the field, you play your Draconeer, you get your free Draconic Weapon, you give that follower +1, and then you Evo him to blast something for 4. So we have 2 in the Evo deck, and we have 3 in the main. Going backwards. Next up we have Star Phoenix. This card's really good in particular for this deck. So Star Phoenix, this is our last 3-drop follower, but this one's great because kind of like the Aqua Nereid, it just keeps, this one gives you more value from PDK. So it's a 3-drop 2/2, not great stats, but it has good abilities. So the first ability, you can evo it for 1. Second ability, during your turn, whenever you play a dragon spell, Dragoncraft spell, you can pay 1 play point and put this card from your cemetery into the field, which is really good. So you play a spell, it just keeps coming back. And then when you evo it, it becomes a 4/4. So it goes from a 2/2 to a 4/4. And on strike, select an enemy from the field and deal it 2 damage. It's really, really good and efficient. And yeah, Phoenix is great. So we have 2 in the Evo deck, 3 in the main deck. Really, really good with PDK. It just keeps coming back, and you get those PDK triggers, and yeah, it's solid. All right, let's talk about our big end, our finishers here. We have Dark Dragoon Forte. You put 3 Fortes in every dragon deck. It's Forte. Buy your Fortes if you play dragon. She's just a 5/1 with Storm for 4, and then when you evo her, she becomes a 7/3 with Aura and Storm, which means she can't be targeted by spells. So they have to just take the damage and then attack back into her. So we have 2 in the evo, and then of course we run the full 3 in the main. And that's the last of our evo followers. We just got these evo points. All right, let's talk about the rest of the deck. So rounding out the followers, we have Genesis Dragon. Simple, 9-drop 10/12 with Storm. You just kill your opponent with this. That's what you do. You chip them down with your PDK, chip them down with your PDKs, chip them down with your Fortes, and then you just kill them with Genesis Dragon. Or you can just kill them with Forte. One of those two. They're both great. We have two Genesis Dragons. This is Dragon Oracle. You run a full play set of this in every dragon deck. It's a 2-drop. This was the Japanese version because I don't have 2 sets of English versions. But Japanese version, 2-drop, you gain a play point or you draw a card. Very good. You need them for dragon. Next up we have Dragon Song Flute. While we don't have a lot of discard synergy, this is the one card that has discard synergy. This card's really, really, really good in PDK. Okay, it's a 1-drop amulet, right? And if you discard this card, you put a Hellflame Dragon into your EX area. And a Hellflame Dragon is a 2-cost 4/3 with Rush. 2-cost, very, very good with Prime Dragon Keeper. And so if you discard this to any other, effect that causes you to discard a card, like the Dragon Tamer, you get that Hellflame Dragon, which is great. It's actually really good. Or you can play it, Fanfare 3, summon a Hellflame Dragon token and draw a card. Also really, really good. So for 4, you still get that Hellflame, or you still get that PDK trigger, because it summons a Hellflame Dragon. And also, you can engage it and put a Hellflame Dragon token into your EX area, engage it and discard a card, and then put a Hellflame Dragon token into your EX area. This ability can only be activated if Overflow is active for you. You can do some cool stuff with this, where you discard a Star Phoenix, right? And then you play a spell to get that Star Phoenix back, and you also got the value out of getting the Hellflame Dragon. So yeah, this card's actually really, really good in this deck. Like kind of an all-star. We have Blazing Breath, one of the few spells. Like I said, I mentioned the Phoenix. We don't have that many spells, right? We just have, was it 9 spells? Yeah, 9 spells, because this is an amulet. Because we have the 3 oracles. We have Blazing Breath, which is just a 1-drop quick speed removal, 2 damage to a follower, or 4 if Overflow is active for you. And then we have Serpent Wrath, 3-drop quick, 5 damage to a follower. If Overflow is active for you, draw a card. And that's the deck, right? You just have PDK, you play a bunch of your little dudes, deal some damage to your opponent, wipe their board, and then, clear them up with your big storm targets. It's a fun deck, and it's a little bit of a different flavor than Dragon, what Dragon normally does. But still has a lot of the cards that you're used to, like your oracles, your flutes, your fortes. But you gotta play with cool new stuff like the Star Phoenix, and of course PDK here. Yeah. And last but not least, we have one of my absolute favorite decks to play right now in the game. This is your Ramp Dragon, right? This is, I just want to go big. I want to go big, and this deck does it, and I'm able to play some of my favorite cards in the entire game, which are like the big legendary neutral angels, and you play with Bahamut, and this deck is so cool. I love this deck so much. So let's get into it. We have a single token that we're playing. It kind of tells you what we're doing here with that. And then here's the sleeves we're rocking. Got some nice Princess Connect sleeves and some Forte sleeves. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the followers. So we're going to see a lot of followers that we saw in the PDK deck, right? So we have the Shape-Shifting Mage. It's a nice 2/2. Like I said, I'm not going to go over it again. Shape-Shifting Mage, it does the job. It's pretty good, right? We are running 2 of them in the Evo deck. 3 main board, 2 Evo deck. I think that's a pretty good number for this card for Dragoncraft decks. Next up, we have Bellringer Angel. We're running 2 copies of Bellringer Angel. This deck does not run Evo Bellringer Angel, so just these 2. And the reason why we're running these 2 is because we're also running the Goblin Princess, if you can guess from the Goblin King here. Next up, we have Sybil of the Waterworm. This is the real version, or the in-universe version of the Code Geass card, the Callan. Yeah, it's just super good, helps ramp us. If Overflow is active for us, like I said, we get +1/+1, and it increases our maximum play points, so it helps us go from 7 to 8. We really want to get to the 9, 10 play points. It also heals us, which is really good. So we're running 3 of the Sybil. Next up, we have Dragon Warrior. This deck, as you can see, has a pretty hard turn 3 curve. Dragon Warrior, nice Evo card. 3-drop 3/3 Evo for 1, and then when you Evo it, it basically shoots a dude. We're running 2 in the Evo, and it becomes a 4/4, and you deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. Really good, efficient starter deck card. Yep, 2 in the Evo, 3 in the main. Next up, we have 2 Goblin Princess. Like I said, you'll see this card a lot today. This is same thing. The only target for this in the deck is the 2 Bellringer Angels, but it's still really good value for a single card, right? Once again, for a single card, Goblin Princess gets you your Bellringer Angel and your Goblin King if you Evo her. So we are running 1 copy in the Evo deck, and so for a single card. There's a single card and 8 play points. This is what you get, right? You get a 0/2 Bellringer. You get a 4/3 because Goblin King will pump up the princess, and you get a 6/6. That's pretty good value for just a single card. It's a great way to just like, hey, single card here, like flood the board with stuff. And Goblin Princess is like a surprisingly very strong card. So yeah, we have 2 of her in the main. Next up is Forte. Like I said, every Dragon deck runs 3 Fortes. Kill your opponent dead, it's Forte. Yep, just ramp up to Forte and you kill him. We do have the same kind of numbers. We have 3 main deck and 2 in our Evo deck, including this very shiny Ultra Rare. All right, this one we are running Shenlong. Because it's restricted to 1. It's a 4/5 with Ward, one of the best cards in the game. Evo for 2. Fanfare, draw 2 cards and discard a card. And then when you Evo Shenlong, you heal for 5, and it becomes a 5/6. So 5/6 Ward, heals for 5, filters your hand. It's insanely good. Insanely good. Now we have some of my favorite cards. We have Dark Angel Olivia. This is known as one of the most expensive cards in the game right now, and for good reason. It's really powerful, really flexible. It's a 5-drop, 5/5, and then you choose 2 when on Fanfare. You can gain an Evo point, heal your leader for 3, draw a card, or each opponent discards a card. This card's insanely good. Yeah, it's super good, super flexible, and perfect for this deck. Next up, we have our one of Ryo Kashimoto. This card is nuts. I love this card. 6-drop, 6/6 rush, strike if there are no other followers on your field. Select an enemy follower on the field, destroy it, and deal 3 damage to its leader. This is a perfect 2-for-1 card. You just jam this out, attack into something, kill something else, hit your opponent for 3. Very, very strong. And now we have our other angel, our other favorite angel. This is Israfil. I really wanted to make a deck that used Israfil. She's an 8-drop, 8/8. Fanfare, you heal 4. On strike, she deals 3 damage to each enemy follower on the field, and she evos for 1. And when she evos, she becomes a disgusting card. She becomes a 10/10. On strike, deal 5 damage to all followers on the field. And remember, that strike happens before combat damage. So if that strike kills the thing that she's attacking, it won't deal damage back and just hit everything for 5. Yeah, very good. This is very good. We're running 1 in the Evo and 2 in the main. We're also running Genesis Dragon for the same reasons we ran it in PDK. It's a 10/12 with Storm for 9. You just kill your opponent with this. And then we're also running Bahamut. Bahamut's great in this deck because we can fall behind on the board because we're really slow. And Bahamut is just like, boom, Bahamut, blow everything up. It's just a 9-drop, Fanfare, destroy each other follower on the field. If there are at least 2 enemy followers on the field, this follower can't attack leaders, but you just clear out the board and you smash your opponent. And it evos for 0, and when it evos, it becomes an 11/11, and then it also destroys each amulet on the field. Yeah, Bahamut. Kill him. Just kill him dead. All right, and the rest of the cards, we have our support cards to help us get to that end game. We have Dragon's Nest, another new card. It's just a 1-drop amulet, and then you can engage it, put it in your cemetery, and give your leader +2 health. And if Overflow is active for you, draw a card. So it's a 1-drop, draws a card, heals for 2. It's really good. Dragon Oracle, you ramp. This is you need this turn 1. Mulligan for your Dragon Oracles. We need this more than the PDK deck, and the PDK deck also needs it. Blazing Breath, 1-drop, deal 2 damage or deal 4 damage with Overflow. Really good. Serpent's Wrath, deal 5 damage, Overflow, draw a card. And we're also running more board wipes. We're running Conflagration. So 5-drop, deal 5 damage to each enemy follower on the field. You can add in another Conflagration if you want. You can take out something like your like a Rico or one of the other high drop cards. But I like Rico. She kills things that Conflag cannot kill, because Conflag only does 5 damage, and there's some bigger stuff on the field. So, yep, that's the Ramp Dragon deck. It's very, very Ramp Dragony, right? It's very swingy. If you get the right cards, right? If you can go like into like Oracle, and then you can ramp again with Sybil, you can get really, really far ahead of your opponent, and then just outvalue them with stuff like Olivia, and have big threats that they can't deal with, like Israfil. Yeah, this deck is cool. I like it. I like it. And also you get to play stuff like Bahamut, which you don't really get to see in many other decks. So, yeah. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. That is our 10 deck deep dive for the Cosmic Mythos Shadowverse Evolve season. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Definitely check out the timestamps as well as the deck lists if you need to go back for reference. And thanks for watching the Shadowverse content. I really appreciate all the support. If you're here this long, you probably already subscribed and you probably already liked, but if you haven't, do so. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time.